Here's your host, Brian Dean.
Friday happy hour. Here we go. Today's beer is an interesting one. I got it because it was a Sam Adams special release pack for the 250th birthday of America. And there you go. Now, I like blueberries. Hold on. Am I not muted? I'm not. Okay, I unmuted myself. Good. I'm paranoid about that now. I like blueberries and I like lagers. I don't know if I'm going to like both of them together, but here we go. I've even got a nice Sam Adams glass. I can smell the blueberries already. I don't know about this. So just before the stream, I released a new version of the chart room scene, which I've been working on. And I had a lot of problems with it this week. I was really expecting to get it done several days before, earlier this week. But here we go. Cheers. It's happy hour. Here we go. Not sure how I feel about this. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's weird. Oh well, it is what it is. Okay, so new cut of the chart room scene. I had done one version of it earlier, a few weeks ago, and basically it was just to kind of test out the workflow, see how it was all going. And it was basically a lot of the free generations that I had. And so I was testing prompts, just seeing how things would work, using CDNs 2.0 for the first time. And this new version has some 1080p generations. I kind of was mixing between 1080 and 720. For some of the close-ups, I went back to 720 because it wasn't too much of a difference. For the wide shots, I kind of had to be 1080. When I tried to go lower, it was pretty soft. There's still a couple in here that I think I need to boost and redo. And the problem is like AI is just kind of a roll of the dice, and you never really know what you're going to get. And a lot of the shots that I want couldn't quite get them the way I want. So this is the way they are. And that's kind of the problem with AI. However, indie filmmakers, indie creators, like the name of the game is concessions and compromise. Like, it doesn't matter what you're using. You're never going to have the resources, the time, the budget to do what you want. So it's always trying to do what you can. No difference with this. Except the things that generally usually are very easy tend to be uncontrollable with AI, and the things that would be very difficult are very easy to do with AI. So it just takes some getting used to, but again, it's like you're always making concessions and compromises, so it is what it is. So let me see if I can pull up, I guess we could watch the cut here. I just posted it to the channel, but I can bring up, let's see, I should bring up the render instead of trying to watch it in Resolve. This is a color version, so I'm going back and forth between the color and the black and white. The problem with doing it color is the color shifts from generation to generation a bit, and then I've got to really kind of try and make it match. And if I just make it black and white, that kind of solves a lot of those problems. And it kind of fits since it's a 1950s period piece. However, it would be also kind of cool to have it be like a 1950s Technicolor with those bright, vibrant colors, that they had, almost like too colorful. That would be kind of fun to do too. And that's kind of the way I pushed it. And I also put this like overall film effect over the whole thing. But we'll watch it. And like I said, I don't know which way I'm going to finally go with it. I'm just trying various different things to see what I like, what I don't like, what's giving me problems. Trying to track the skin tones, like it's just a bit challenging. Depending on how the rest of the shots and sequences go, I very well might just go back to black and white just to make it easier. However, it might be cool to have like the surface stuff on the ship black and white, and then once he gets down into the mermaid water with the sea creatures and everything, that maybe could be color. That might be cool. Kind of like, Wizard of Oz, with Kansas is black and white and then Oz is all color. That could be cool. But let's just take a look at the, let me bring up the cut here. Now, 4K just came out, so we'll talk about that after. 4K, CDance 2.0 is now available in 4K. It's expensive as, and from what I understand, the renders take hours. So I haven't tried it yet. It's like 4 times the cost or something. It's really expensive. So I think it's like 40 cents a second or something. I think it's something like that. So it's very expensive. I'm not going to bother with it because it's, it's like I said, it's just too much to be just, pulling the lever, rolling the dice, and hoping that you get something usable. You can't work like that, So I think that the best workflow is the, doing it like lower res and then up-resing it. Although I'm not really up-resing. I found that 1080 is going to work fine for me. 720, I turn on the AI up-resing and resolve just to give it a little extra sharpness. But some of the wider shots, like you kind of do need that extra resolution for the detail because you do see things kind of mush together. So, I don't know. There's definitely probably some cases where 4K would be not only preferred but maybe even necessary. But it'd just be tough because, man, if that generation doesn't come out, you got to wait a long time and then you got to spend a lot of money. It's just like, ugh. So anyway, let's take a look at the, let's take a look if I can find my thing here. Okay. Once again, I'm overwhelmed by Windows. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is the resolve file, but that's not what we want. Well, I guess I could just show you now that I have it open. So here's like the film look. If I turn off the effects, that's what it looks like. That's just the raw generation, and that's kind of with the film effect. And then if I also have the black and white as a separate layer. Oh, I have to go into edit mode. And, then we just go black and white. So this has kind of the film effects. It's like got a gate effect around it. And then it's got like the scratches and the dust. And then this is the overall black and white color correction. So anyway, let's just watch the cut here somewhere. Here it is. Okay, and let me mute myself and hope that I remember, and I'll turn myself off. And let's just give this thing a quick view.
You've all heard the news by now. Hartwell beat us to 4,000. Barton is planning a dive to 4,500 next week. We've fallen behind. Men, we have 1 day left. We need to make it count. Tomorrow was supposed to be our untethered dive, the first in history. But right now, depth is scoring the points in the press. I'm proposing changing the location of tomorrow's dive to someplace deeper.
You can't be serious.
Bill, we need to go deeper.
That spot was off limits from day one. We agreed.
4,500 is the only number that puts us back in this race. And that trench is the only place within range that we can get to.
Let's just do our scheduled untethered dive and prove to the world we can do what none of the other subs can.
No one is going to print a headline about a free dive when the whole world is counting feet. Depth makes headlines. And if we don't stay in the headlines, the money men will bail. But if we can go deeper than the other teams and dive untethered, think of it, the deepest dive in history and the first untethered dive in history. It'll be all anyone is talking about. The money will pour in for all of us.
It's too dangerous. The weather there is too unpredictable.
We can make the call on weather once we're there.
It's not just the weather. It's that place. I've been in those waters.
You do not belong.
We don't belong there.
We're diving to depths that would crush a human body. This whole expedition is about going where we don't belong.
You don't understand. Those waters are cursed!
This impacts us all. We vote on it.
No, damn it! Vote or no vote, I will not dive there! Not in those waters!
You won't have to. I'm piloting the Aquaticus tomorrow. I'm taking her down myself.
All right, there it is. There you go. Yeah, it's coming along. I mean, there's some things that I wish were better, but you know, I can't really do all the things that I want. Because it's hard to control. There's a lot of things I wanted to change, but doing the generations, trying to regenerate things, it's just so hard to get what I want that ultimately you just kind of have to move on. Now, I do have like some unlimited generations at 720p, so that's why I was kind of doing some of them at 720. I did the first few that I did, like when I started over on this, I just started generating the 1080p versions, and everything was working out. Like I was just like just the shots were coming together, everything was looking great, and I was like, wow, this is really going great. And then all of a sudden it went off a cliff, and in particular I had a hard time getting Dylan to turn his head. So we'll just kind of go through this a little bit, and I'll just kind of point out the problems I had. So this is kind of a nice shot. This is 4K. It's a little like, it feels a little fake, and I would, if I had the time, I would probably rerun this a bunch of times. I don't like the crane that's on the back here. It feels a little too modern. But let me see. This is basically what it looked like without any color correction. You know, this is probably a case of the start frame probably isn't ideal, so I probably would have had to regenerate a better start frame. And I also don't really have the look of the ship completely nailed down yet, so this was just like a placeholder shot anyway. I didn't want to waste a lot of time on it, but we've got this shot, and I've been also trying out different music variants. So you've got, this is the original take I had of the music, and this is kind of, I redid the music pass. Like once I kind of was like, okay, the shots are what they are for now, I'm going to go back and redo the music. So you can see I've got various different versions, and I'm just kind of mixing and cutting between them, and hopefully you can't really hear the cuts and the edits. there's a few places made, you know, it's hard to kind of make them completely seamless and invisible, but I think I did a okay job with that. And I also did some, like, there's some sound design in here when the
I've been in those waters.
he gets a British accent here in this one version for some reason, and you know, it's one of these things where getting certain performances was so difficult that I you know, it's hard to just make a simple change, like change out the voice or do something. I mean, there are ways to do it, and I have to try and test them, but I think like what I need to do is, well, I have some ideas of ways to get around some of this stuff, but I haven't implemented them yet, and they're kind of just, you know, I'm not sure if they'll work, but yeah, just like little problems. Like he's got a British accent, and this is one of these low res shots where his beard feels really like, you know, this shot just feels kind of compressy and like really heavily denoised. You know, it's got that like really weird look to it. This is one of those ones that I'd like to redo, but of all the performances, I like this one best, even though he's got a weird accent. So, you know, again, like eventually, this isn't the finished version of this scene, but this is like where it's going to land for right now. And I'm going to start. What I was hoping to do was get the intro, like the few shots that come before this. There really isn't a lot that comes before this, but I was hoping to get that part done and get this. Like I wanted to get this done earlier in the week and then work on that to have that done, so I could have those two together to have like a bigger stretch of shots. But I'll show you the shot that was giving me a hard time. But so there's a little sound design there. I've got like, you know, when they go down, they're going to meet the mermaids. So this is like kind of, you know, him. We're hearing the mermaid's voice. We're hearing kind of the siren song come up. We're hearing, you know, he's touching the amulet. All that stuff's going to come into play later. So, you know, there's a little bit of that. But if we go back through, so this is, you know.
You've all heard the news by now.
So I do not like the reading of his line, but this is one of these shots where I could not get him to look to the left, to acknowledge the fact there's those three guys are there. I could not get him to turn his head. And also, like, if you look at this one shot, they don't move at all, I don't think.
Hartwell beat us to 4,000.
Yeah, they're not
Barton
like,
is
they're just
planning
frozen.
a dive to 4,500 next
The
week.
sound's a little off because the sync is a bit off when I play back. But he's like, look at his eye lines, not quite right. Like, these are the problems that just drive me crazy. But this is like, this was the best version of this shot that I could do. So it's in there. I mean, you know, it's got issues, and it's one of the ones, you know, hopefully I can go back and fix it. But it's like, I just don't know how to fix things, because you go back and maybe you fix one thing, but then like something else breaks. You know, like he might have the right performance, but then one of these guys might do something weird. You know, it just, there's always something that breaks that.
We've fallen behind.
You know.
Men, we have 1 day left.
So there I actually got him to turn to the side, because I was just like, in all the generations I was doing, I forget what the shot was, but I wanted him to just, I think it was one of the wide shots. I wanted him to turn to the other dudes and say something, because he's, you know, they don't really do much in this part of the shot, but they do kind of have a few lines later on. But God, I could not get him to turn his head. Let me see if I can find. I'm gonna pop open. I should show you how many. I did like 30 or 40 generations trying to get him to turn his stupid head, and I was so angry. Because it was like, just like, why won't he do this? Let's see. Okay, that's the wrong window. Here we go. Yeah, here they are. So all of these generations were me trying to get him to look left. All of these. All I wanted him to do is just turn his head to the left. And he would not do it.
You've all heard the news by now. Hartwell beat us to 4,000. Barton is planning a dive to 4,500 next week.
See, I mean, these are, like, some of these are low resolution because I was just trying to, like, see if the prompt was going to work. I was trying different things. I tried everything. Like, it just would not work. I tried, like, a very elaborate prompt. I tried a very simple prompt to see if maybe, because there's other people in the image, he would just, like, look at them. I thought, like, maybe I'm over engineering the prompt. I tried everything. I made a diagram of the room and I said, turn your head, like, make sure he turns his head this way. He just would not turn his damn head.
You've all heard the news by now. Hartwell beat us to 4,000. Barton is planning a dive to 4,500 next.
So here he turns his head, but he turns it the wrong way. It's a complete wrong way, you know.
You've all heard the news by now. Hartwell beat us to 4,000. Barton is planning a dive to 4,500 next week. We've fallen behind. You've all heard the...
So it was just like, it was insane. And with these generations, like for the unlimited ones, because I was trying to not burn credits, you can only generate one at a time. So I would have to, like, generate the prompt, wait for it to come back. And it takes, like, it's supposed to be like CDance, like, enhanced fast or something, but it's not fast at all. It's like maybe because everyone's using it, but it takes a long time. It takes like several minutes, like 5 minutes or more for a generation. So you hit the prompt and you're just sitting there for 5 minutes, you know, okay, let's see what this, and then it doesn't work. Like, okay, trying to figure out what do I change? You know, I was asking Grok, I was asking Claude, I was like, you know, I went to some discussion groups, just like, hey, anybody have any issues or anybody have any suggestions of how to deal with this? It was just like, I mean, come on, you know? It's like, really? I can't get him to turn his head? So, yeah, it was just like tons of generations. And that's kind of the problem. Like, there's a lot of shots where I wanted something better. I wanted something different. I just couldn't get it. So, you know, what I've learned is, like, one of the things you have to do is just do a lot of coverage, you know, and just have things that you can cut between, because you might get one, and because AI is so random, you might get one part of the shot that was, especially if it's a long shot, one part might look okay, but then the end of it, the second part doesn't work for some reason, but then you've got like the second half of another shot that works. And so if you have like some shots that you can cut away to, like some coverage, some reaction shots, like whatever, that is like, can be a lifesaver. And that's just general editing, you know? And I did that a few times where I'm just kind of cutting up shots and breaking, you know, cutting between different takes. And sometimes I would actually let the model do multiple shots and it would do a good job. And sometimes I felt like, okay, don't, like, if I just kind of get out of the way, let me just see how smart it is and see if it can handle some of these things. Sometimes it did a really great job and other times it really just didn't. So, yeah, I'm not sure I like this beer. The blueberry is a little, like I said, it's not bad. It's just kind of odd. Yeah, it was just tough, you know. And like I said, you had to wait. I had to wait for each generation to finish to see if it worked, because I can't run multiple ones concurrently. So it was just really annoying. But that being said, if you're going to get into this, there are a lot of deals that are out there. Look for one of these deals where you get unlimited generations, whether it's for a week, whether it's for a month. If I had pulled the trigger on a deal earlier, which I should have, I could have had a year's worth of CDance 720. The reason why I didn't was because there's always new stuff coming out. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay for that. But by the end of the year, there's going to be probably 2 or 3 new models that have come out that'll be better. So I won't care about it anymore anyway. So that's why I didn't pull the trigger on that. But if you find one of these deals, you should grab it, because the cost can add up. You'll burn through your credits really fast. And if your prompts are not, spot on, even if they are spot on, you're still going to have issues where you don't get what you want. So a good starting frame, good style sheets, good reference sheets, those are a must. And then, some kind of plan that gives you, the unlimiteds are 720, but just to test your prompt, see if it works, make sure there's no massive problems. I don't know if there's a one-to-one parity with how the models will handle a prompt, like with the 720 versus the 1080. I don't even know if it's a one-to-one parity on the same model. Like if you use CDance regular at 720 versus CDance regular at 1080 versus CDance regular at 4K, I don't even know if that would be like a one-to-one with the only difference being resolution. I don't even know if so it's just like, you want to make sure your prompt is as close as it can be to get you in the ballpark so that hopefully one of your generations will come out. Now, that being said, I have a calculator. I think I talked about it last week, which I'm going to be hold on one second here. I'm going to be putting this calculator out where it will allow you to kind of put in like, I mentioned this last week, the length of your short, what kind of short or what kind of story it is. Like, is it a fast cutting action? Is it like longer shots with dialogue? And then like how many generations you'll give yourself, whether it'll be like, I don't care what I get. I'm only going to do 1 or 2 or 3 per shot, or I really want to nail it. So I'm going to do like 6, 7, 8 if I need to. And it'll kind of tell you, it'll give you a ballpark, and it's eye-opening. It's eye-opening when you see like, oh my God, is it really going to cost that much? And what I also will have it do is, it will allow you to see like if you have a monthly plan, you can kind of factor in, all right, if I only use my monthly credits, like how many months would it take me? So you can say, okay, here's my monthly credits. How many months would it take me? And then if I buy more credits, how many credits do I need, and how does that shorten my schedule? So that's going to be coming out. I was hoping to get that. Actually, there's a lot of things I wanted to get done this week, but the stupid shot that gave me problems and slowed me down all week, I couldn't get to a lot of this stuff. So, but I am building the web page that's going to be linked from. So those things are going to be going up. Hopefully next week. But yeah, it's just, everything always takes a bit longer than you think it's going to, but especially with the AI stuff, it's all new. I'm still getting the hang of it, and it's so random. It's just hard to control. So, but, I do have these unlimited generations. I've got some other projects, so I was hoping to just like start some videos going on those, just like while I'm working on script or editing or something, just be like hopping to the other screen and pushing the generate button, just so that there's always something going. Just throw in like a quick still frame or a quick prompt and just let it make something. So I've been kind of trying to do that. But yeah, the big news is CDance is coming out in 4K. But I said, it's expensive and it's slow. I don't know that I'm going to be using it. Maybe like on 1 or 2 shots. Like if I know a prompt is rock solid, I might use the if I've got monthly credits to burn, I might try a 4K shot. But I don't really think I'm going to be doing a lot of it. And like I said, just because it does take so long. The other news is that CDance 2.5 is coming out, which is like, an improved model. So, these things are getting better and better all the time. And when did CDance come out? Like a couple months ago? And they're already coming out with 2.5? So these things move fast. So my advice would be this, and I've thought about this because, I've always wanted to make my own stuff, but it's always been, difficult. And the technology has allowed for, first for there to be like very good and affordable cameras to use, then like very good and affordable CG pipelines to use with Unreal. And now with AI, it's like, it's still costly, but you know what? So is, when I do the CG stuff, I have to have subscriptions to all these software platforms, Maya and, potentially Houdini and SpeedTree and Marvelous Designer and Substance Painter, Substance Designer, like all these different things you have to have subscriptions to. And, that's several $100s a month. Well, that's what it costs for these AI subscriptions. So you're swapping one out for the other. But then if you're making something, you've got to buy models, you've got to buy assets, and that costs money. And that's no different than buying extra credits for the month. So, it does cost, there is still a cost there, but there was a cost before as well. But now you can really do so much more. And like I said, you don't have control, and some things don't come out the way you want. But everything I ever did with Unreal, I had that problem. Like I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the technical skills to do certain things. And plus you're working in a game engine. There's always just going to be things that don't quite look as good as you should. Like depth of field was a constant issue that I was fighting, things like that. I saw they finally addressed one of the issues that I was always trying to figure out how to fix. And that was to get this is coming out in 5.8, I guess. They finally now, excuse me, I need a little seltzer. They finally now have a blur for fog and haze. Finally, because I think there was a plugin that would let you do that. I didn't want to spend the money. But if you look into fog and haze is a diffusion. It's scattering the light. So things get softer as you look into the fog or whatever it is. But with Unreal, it would just be sharp. And atmospherics is the same thing. Like you're looking through particulates that are in the air that are bouncing the lights. The lights are hitting it and scattering. So things that you see should be softening because, like I said, you're getting like the light is being bounced around and scattered. They finally put that into the fog. Now, like I said, I understand that with the game engine, things like that are not really, it's probably a very expensive thing to turn on, but it always kind of bugged me that things in the distance were as sharp, as things in the foreground, and there should be obviously a defocus effect if you're using, depending on what your aperture is, but there should also be a softening, an atmospheric softening by things that recede into the background should be softer and lower contrast. So that's in there finally. But there's always things that you're, always trade-offs that you're making. But I would say that, if you've got ideas, just write them. Get them, polish them, get them done, write them up, because these tools are getting so good that there's really going to be nothing stopping you from just sitting down, grabbing one of your stories. And you can, there's already tools now that will let you just drop something in and they'll kind of do all the work for you. I don't like that because the reason why I do this is because, well, I want to be in there having control. I want to be guiding it. I don't want it to be done for me. What's the point? I'll just turn on Netflix if I want to watch something that's done for me. But, if you lack the technical skills and stuff to do that, and you literally just want to write the story, there are platforms that have all these tools that'll kind of automate a lot of that. Depending on what part of that you want control in, you can let the AI tools handle the rest. So, there's really nothing stopping you from developing your ideas, and you can do pitch decks now very easily with the AI tools. You can do character designs very easily with these AI tools. None of this stuff is going to be as good as if you do it with real actual people. I always want to say that nothing replaces a talented team of people. But if you don't have the budget to hire those talented people, because they are pricey, then this is a way to, get the work done and hopefully get it to a point where you can show it to somebody as a proof of concept and get somebody to say, hey, I like this. You know what? Maybe we could get some money and hire a team of actual people. That's always kind of the goal. So, yeah, that's kind of where things are with this right now. I want to do the first scene. The first scene is basically Bill is the sub pilot. He's piloting the Aquaticus. And so the first scene is basically he's coming up from a dive and he's all happy. They had a very successful test and he's like coming out of the hatch and all the guys that are at the table, they're kind of the engineers and the crew and stuff. And they're like securing the thing and, just like getting it all secured to the deck. And he comes up and he's all happy. Oh, and Dylan comes out, across the deck. And Bill's like, everything went great. She handles like a dream. And Dylan's kind of got this scowl on his face. And Bill's like, oh, what the fuck? And Dylan's like, this just came in, and he gives him the news. And I don't know if like he should give him the news. Like, I don't know that I have to give that information twice. Like if he tells Bill, Hartwell. Oh, that was another thing. I couldn't get the freaking AI to say Hartwell. And then Aquaticus was another one. It couldn't say Aquadink. It said one time. It was funny. Dylan's like, Hartwell beat us to 4,000 and Barton's going for 4,500 next week. And so the implication, and I have to figure out if like maybe I say this in the line in the chart room, but somewhere, I don't think it's in the script, but I should probably, the line is kind of there where he says nobody's going to care about an untethered dive, because the nonfiction story history of these submersibles was the early ones were tethered. They had like a line that had the oxygen and the electric and all that stuff. And then later ones were untethered, but they had these massive ballasts. So the ballast tank above it is like the spherical pressurized, pod that was like the cockpit, that they rode in, and it had this massive tank of gasoline that was their ballast, because gasoline doesn't compress. The pressure wouldn't compress it as much. There's something about gasoline and its resistance to pressure. That's why they used gasoline. But they essentially had all this weight on it that would make it sink. And then once they got to where they wanted to go, to the depth, they would release the ballast, and then they would release the weight, and then the ballast would float them up to the top. So they could kind of go untethered. So this is a fictional design. Like he's going to have like a propeller thing that's going to, whatever. I don't know how much of it I'll explain, but so this is kind of like a fictional version of a sub that he's designed. And, so he's saying, well, nobody's going to care that it doesn't need the tether when everyone else is going so far deeper, like who cares? So I may have to make that a little more clear, but, this is why, like, once I get that earlier scene done where he's going to Bill and he's got like the little telegram or whatever he's got, he's like, I just, found this out. And he's basically like, I want the men in the chart room in 1 hour, because he's going to tell them like, I'm rescheduling tomorrow's dive. We're going to someplace deep so that we can do a deeper dive. So I need to see, like, now all that information is in the chart room scene. And like I said, the chart room scene, like they take the vote, the men leave, and then Bill and Dylan kind of carry on for another, they have a little bit of a private conversation. And then, we cut to the next day where we actually do the dive. So that's like the information that's missing. I was hoping to get that in. Like I said, I was hoping to do those initial generations of Bill coming out, Dylan walking across the deck and having that quick conversation. But it just didn't work out. Cause I just had, it's like just a couple of shots that I just could not, even getting Bill to like kind of grasp at his amulet. My God, it was so hard because he would like pick it up into the frame and hold it. Like it was the most ridiculous. Maybe sorry, let me see if I can find one of those. It was just like, it's interesting and it's frustrating, and it just, I guess, is getting used to it, because sometimes the prompt will just take things so literally. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it. All right. Well, anyway, he would like take the amulet and hold it up. We don't belong there. It was just like, it was ridiculous. So I finally was like, no, I'll just do a close up. Like, I wanted to have his face, and kind of show him, like, you know, saying, it's not just that place, or it's not just the weather, it's that place. And again, like, some of the delivery of some of the lines weren't exactly how I would have liked them, but, you know, like I said, he just, after so many generations and so many credits, I'm just like, you know what, let me see if I can just move on. And, you know, I'm going to just keep going and try and get like start working on more scenes. And then, like, as I get the first half done, where I have like the first scene on the deck of Bill coming up from the dive, the full chart room, and then maybe like, then Dylan tells him, you're not going down, I'm going down. I'm taking the Aquaticus down tomorrow. You know, because Bill wasn't going to do it, but Dylan was like, you know, I'll take the risk and do it myself. So once he goes down into the water, you know, that'll kind of be like the first chunk. And so once that's all done, I can kind of see how it's playing. And just see, like, okay, do I need to do any regenerations? Are there any shots that I kind of need to, because that'll be basically like the first half. And the second half is the actual dive with the mermaids and the sea creatures and all that stuff. But it looks like I am about out of beer here, which means the stream is over. So the weekend is here. I hope everybody has a good weekend. I think it's supposed to rain here tomorrow, so no beach day for me. Hopefully wherever you are watching this, because I know I can see there's wow, there's like millions of people watching right now. Well, I mean, somebody somewhere is going to have a nice day tomorrow. But yeah, I will be, if it's raining, I will just be inside working. I will probably try and start that new scene. But yeah, so anyway, you know, like I was saying, my advice with all these models that are coming out, right now it's expensive, but the price is going to come down as the new models come out. The older ones get cheaper, you know, because people aren't using them as much. Kling 3.0 used to be the best model. Now, you know, I don't know if any people are still using it, but it's like very, very cheap compared to like the CDN's models. So if you've got ideas, man, just work on them, you know, because you can make this stuff. And I think things are going to be very different in the entertainment industry. So there's going to be opportunity that never was there before. And I think what's really going to be, like, the people using AI, the people that have their own ideas are going to be the ones that pop off the most. So if you do have these ideas, just, you know, if it's raining for you tomorrow, you know, sit down and start developing. All right, well, that's it. Let me finish my beer, and we will get out of here. Let me get some music. Take us out. That's it. That's all she wrote. See everybody later.